There we go. So I will be sending out the presentation. It will include the recording of this presentation plus the actual PDF of the presentation that you can download and have it and you can use it. Andrew Sheridan and I are always available. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I put in his contact information and mine in the slide in case you need to reach out to us. So let's get started. I see. Excellent. Hi, Jeffrey. I see that you guys are, our largest division is commercial real estate, as we have home and corporate move this divisions. Fantastic. This is going to be a great presentation. I really hope that you enjoy it, Jeffrey. If you have any questions, a little bit of a housekeeping. If you have any questions, feel free to put it into chat. Let's keep it on mute, not unmute, but on mute, so we can go through the presentation, and then you guys are more than welcome to ask any questions after the presentation. So let me get started. I'll start sharing my screen with you guys. Just a quick thing. One sec. There we go. Awesome. So today, my good friend Andrew Sheridan from Sheridan Communications and I are going to walk you guys through how to take your business online if you currently are not online. Or if you are, what are the steps that you should be taking that you're not taking? My name is Miriam Golubgir, and I am the Chief Amazement Officer of Digital Marketing Experts. That's a made-up title. I just couldn't come up with anything else that I liked and it fit my personality. I've been in the industry for about 17 years. I've worked in telecom, e-commerce, IPTV, AI development, and broadband and financial industries for the past 17 years. 7 years ago, I decided I'm going to start flying solo and have my own company. And it's been an incredible ride. I have met some fantastic clients over the years, and I've learned how to work with small to medium-sized businesses. When you come from the corporate world, everything is about the bigger numbers, the bigger spend, the bigger return on investment. But when you work with smaller companies, everything is on a much smaller scale. So we believe in building and creating a sustainable digital marketing strategy that will kind of hold you throughout your business and helps you grow steadily and without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in advertising a day. We believe in metrics. Metrics reports are important to us because when we look at, the good thing about the online world is that you can look at reports and realize what you're doing right or wrong. And I asked my really good friend, Andrew Sheridan, to join me on this presentation. And Andrew, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Miriam. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. Yeah, my name is Andrew Sheridan with Sheridan Communications. I've been doing this for just over 16 years. We're a family business located in Newmarket. My father's been in the industry since the late 70s. So yeah, basically I have a background in telecommunications, so helping businesses, whether from one person to 200 people, designing their telephone systems and communications platforms to suit their business, as well as, you know, security solutions for the alarm system, security cameras, card access control, all the network wiring if required. So yeah, that's sort of my background in a quick nutshell. And like Miriam said, you know, I've had a fantastic time, especially as of late, trying to help people and provide lots of information and some guidance and recommendations on how to get their business, you know, to the next level, especially as lately, again, with COVID, we've had to put a bit of a jump start on that as everyone had to transition. People that were working in offices had to transition to working from home and do that via the telephones was a big one. So, you know, we came up with lots of neat ideas and suggestions and really helped guide people through that process over the last while. And it's been a lot of fun, actually.
Excellent. So here are our contact information. I've separated Andrew's and mine. He's always available. I'm always available. Feel free to, if I don't respond to you right away, I will eventually respond to you that day. but feel free to reach out to us via telephone or email or even through social media. So let's get started. Moving your business online will be essential to your company's survival during this crisis. I mean, if you think about it, how many of us had to close shop and didn't know what we need to do within the first couple of weeks of it? And it's important to make sure that you know how efficiently and quickly you can, put some plans together and make it happen. And as we know, this could potentially come back, and we could potentially all be shut down again. So we want to make sure that before we think about how we're going to take our business online, to answer a few questions. These questions will help us come up with a plan for our business and how this is going to pan out in a long term. Because we want to make a plan that works for the next 5 years, not necessarily for the duration of the pandemic. So first question, are you selling products or services? Why does that matter? Well, because if you're selling products, your approach online will be completely different than your approach online if you're selling services. Here are some of the 2020 online landscape. What's happening right now? Well, the competition is fierce. Product market is saturated, and consumers are demanding convenience more than ever. Now we're on our phone, so we need to be able to make purchases within 3 clicks. And if it's not 3 clicks, and if it's not instant, and if we don't have fast results and everything is within seconds in our hands, we will panic. And that's the sad part of 2020. We want it now, we want it fast, we want it to happen right away. So before you begin to brainstorm the design, the experience of your online store, even your company's name, you'll need to choose what products you want to sell or what services you need to sell. So this decision, has few pieces that you have to add into it. So what's the brand name that you want to pick if you don't have one already? Some of the businesses that we're dealing with, they have their online presence. They want their online presence to be different than their store presence because they feel like they don't want to take away from their brick and mortar store. I don't agree with that because I feel like you need to have one consistent brand across all platforms that you're in so that I can always have you in the back of my mind. Your website design. Do you need a website? Do you have a website? If you have a website, does it have everything that you need to be able to sell your products or services? How are you going to connect with people as far as marketing your services or product goes? Do you have a loyalty program? Are you going to be sending products out to people? So you need to figure out shipping and fulfillment. What are the costs associated with that? Because if I'm setting up shipping, fantastic, but is this going to cost me more to ship a product to Vancouver than, if I'm only focusing in Ontario? So you got to think of all of this, these major decisions for your business. Now, how you evaluate your market viability for your products. Now, I'm going to keep talking about products because a lot of us that had brick and mortar stores, we were focusing on selling products from our brick and mortar stores. When it comes to services, it's a completely different strategy. However, some of the things I'm talking about here in this presentation applies to services as well. So for example, trying to figure out if your service or even products ideas is practical. Do we need to, we had a client who wanted to, his business idea was to clean golf balls. And he wanted to have a bunch of golf balls be dropped off to them so that they can clean it. That's all good and dandy till golf season is over. And golf is a very niche market. You can't make it sustainable all throughout, every season. So is this idea practical? Is this idea a good idea during COVID? What obstacles and challenges are lying ahead? We did a presentation yesterday, and it was about doing an analysis that I call the SWOT analysis, which is the risks, the strength, the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats that hit your business. And one of the things that I was talking about was make a list and write what are the strengths of your business, your weaknesses of your business, your opportunities and your threats. So when you make a list, then it's easier for you to kind of figure out, well, here are some of the threats that may hurt my business. Another shutdown, another, shutdown will be detrimental to our business. Another way, so if the shutdown happens, which means a lot of people won't be able to buy from me, what am I going to do? Do I need to have a plan B? What would my plan B be for this situation? Will it support services of some kind to ensure customer satisfaction? So if you have a particular service or product that you want to sell in this particular case, will it have a support service set up for it? So it's not that I'm just going to sell you a product and we're good to go. Let's say if you're selling masks, that's a big thing right now. A lot of people are like, well, what if the mask breaks? What's going to happen? As soon as I put it on, it breaks. Or what's going to happen if the mask is, needs to have that filtration built into it? Where do I buy the filter from? What if I don't know how to put it on? What sort of a support service do you have built into it? Now, what you want to do is before you take so once you've done your brainstorming and you figured out what you want to do and you're ready to take your business online, what you want to do is you want to come up with an action plan. So your action plan will include conducting a keyword research. You want to look to see, are people actually looking for your products and services online? Look for those keywords, search the keywords, look who comes up. Is there a demand for your business? What trends and, on a bigger picture, what's happening as far as Google's are concerned and the trends in Google? And are you part of that trend? Right now, mask, PPE, they're part of the trend. Everybody needs them. Telecom, part of the trend, because now I have to work from home. What am I going to do? I live in the middle of nowhere. Do I have cell reception? Do I have, is my phone connected to the internet? What's going to happen to the internet? So certain things are essential. Essential. Are you part of that essential services? So you kind of want to do this, conduct a keyword search and look at the Google trends to kind of see if your ideas are viable and what's going to happen down the line. What's the sustainability of this idea? You want to utilize your social media because you want to understand the volume of the conversation and the mentions around your business idea or your business products and services. Right now, there's a huge talk about, how the kids are going back to school. Some are sending their kids and some aren't. That's a big discussion. If your product lines anywhere where kids and parents can take advantage of that, this is a great time to get on social media and listen to what parents are talking about. And there's tons of conversation happening. There's tons of conversation happening about, the buildings that are being built in Aurora, tons of conversation happening about the bike lane in Newmarket. Do you fall in anywhere around that? Once you figure that piece out, you want to build your online store and test the waters just to see if you can gain a bit of a momentum on the products that you're trying to sell. So building an online store, there's tons of options available to you right now. You can work with local companies such as myself or other marketing agencies or web development agencies in Aurora, in Newmarket and York region in general. And most of us know that there are grants available that would help you build your site for free. So if you're aware of that and you mention it, or if you're not aware of that, you should mention to us, how do I build my website? I don't know are there any grants available? If you don't want to use a company, you can always build it by yourself. There are tons of good tools out there. Squarespace, Wix, and Shopify are great tools. The Shopify is a little convoluted and complicated, but you can figure it out if you want to do it on your own. You want to create an audience that will help you leverage your existing. So you want to build an audience that will help you leverage your existing audience. So what that means is you want to be able to sell your new product to not just your existing audience. Let's say if you had a brick and mortar store, you had an existing group of people that would walk in and buy your products. But when you go online, for the first little bit, they don't know about you. So you have to build your audience around that. And what are your thoughts? How are we going to do this? Who are we going to target? Do we know who we were going to be targeting? You want to leverage your digital network. You want to make sure that you reach out to people on your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram that are following you and kind of ask them, hey, if I'm going online, what do you want to see? What are your thoughts? Get them involved, because more people involved, more likely they are interested in helping you out and making sure that your business will grow. You want to scope the competition. This is so important. You want to know who they are, where they're going, what they're doing, so that you are not necessarily copying them, but you kind of follow the trends so you can grow with them, or maybe create partnerships instead of competing with people. So this is important. You want to conduct your competitive analysis. So this is where you figure out who, you want to identify who are your competitors. And that's the kind of terrifying piece. You want to figure out who's your competitor and your competition, if they're out there, what they're doing, and how are they as hungry as you are, and are they fighting for the same clients the way you are fighting for them? Because it kind of puts it allows you to create a map of where you want to go. I personally don't like competition. I don't like competing with people. I find it to be exhausting and stressful. So when I find my competition, I either try to create a partnership with them where we all work together, or I try to come up with a product that they're not offering, or the service that I can offer and they're not offering. Because I always want to set myself apart. I don't like worrying about growing my business, and I have to worry about growing my business. I don't want to worry about growing my business and competing with someone else. So you want to go onto their website, you want to look at their customer experience, look at their Google reviews, look at their Facebook reviews, their Yelp reviews, kind of see how people are talking about them, and not in a negative way, but you want to see what are their strengths and weaknesses, and you will know all of that from the way people will review them. And if they even have reviews, that's important, because that tells you what their customer service is like, and you can build a better customer service around that. You want to identify their market position. So by identifying their market position, it allows you to put together a strategy to kind of feel where you're going to be in comparison to where they are. You want to take a peek at their pricing, because sometimes you always, so there's twofold to that. You want to look at their pricing because you don't want to be, you want to be in the same range as them. However, if your product has, if you have one thing that sets you apart, let's say your product quality is, tenfold better than your competitors, because you probably went and bought the product and you looked at what they were offering. You don't have to bring your price down just because your competitor offers it at a lot less. If you're providing something that makes your product unique, and you can justify it, you can keep your price at what you think fits your products and your business. Let's use me as an example. There are tons of companies in the area that offer web development at, less than $1,000. We don't, because what we offer is a package with, different. So we offer search engine optimization, or we offer reporting with our website. So I think now the value of my product that I'm offering, the service that I'm offering, is above my competitors. Therefore, I don't need to reduce my price just because I want to compete. And your end users, if they see the quality of the product that they're getting, and if they see the added value that they're getting, they understand why they're paying the price that they're paying. Unfortunately, when it comes to the online world, because people price shop, it's hard to know the quality that one is offering versus the other one. So you got to be kind of vigilant about that as well. Excuse me. Okay. So you want to solve the shipping problem. This is a big deal. So if you're providing me a product at an X amount of price, but then you're going to add shipping and handling on top of that, and then now it's exponentially more expensive for me to buy the product from you, I'm going to your competitors. So you need to figure out how shipping works, solve the shipping problem. That's a big one. What I would do is I would go through the payment process of our competitors and kind of see what they're doing when it comes to shipping, and then call up a couple of shipping providers and find out what's happening. Canada Post is not the final word. You can look at other options that you have. You want to take a temperature of the reviews and kind of see if, if any of these customers are actual customers or not. We recently found out there's a school in York region that all the reviews were written by the teachers. None of them were by the students' parents. And it's quite disappointing because you realize, well, all this wonderful reviews, none of it is real. And the reason, then the way we found out is one of the moms Googled the teachers' names that were in the school's website, and realized, wait, that doesn't make sense. How are they all the same? So you want to make sure that the customer reviews are authentic, that they're real. You want to see what they're saying about the clients and if it makes sense. A lot of people buy reviews. So how do you figure out the reviews bought? If the reviews are 1, 2, or 3 words only, or just the stars, the complete stars and no written piece, those are usually fake. You want to read the reviews on social media. You want to see what's happening with, what people are actually saying about them on social media. Do they even have followers on social media? Now, you got to keep in mind, certain companies, they realize where their niche are, where the niche clienteles are. So they may realize that most of their clients will be on Instagram, not Facebook, but you go and check their Facebook and you're like, well, there's not a lot of reviews on their Facebook. Well, because they probably figured out that it doesn't work for them. So check all their social media platform if you have access to it. And you want to, use the proper tools that are available for competitive analysis, and use and write down everything you learn about your competitors. This helps you understand your position in the market, and it's a big deal. And the other piece of it is that you may realize that someone you're competing with, it could actually become an ally rather than a competition. And that realization is worth millions, because you can leverage on each other's weaknesses or strength in a positive way. So when you do this, you kind of figure out everything we're talking about is part of your roadmap. And this will help your business grow, and it's building the foundation of your business. You want to identify and analyze your target market. This should be done at the beginning stages. This is so important, because if we don't know who we're targeting, if we don't know the exact person that's going to buy from us, our business will never grow. It may grow a little bit, but then it will be stagnant for a long period of time. So you want to do this not only for your business, you want to do this for every big project that you're implementing. If you're going online, if you're, introducing a new product, figure out who your target audience is for that particular product. So here are some of the questions. This presentation is available for you online. Print it out, stick it to a wall, and just write on it, just to look at it and know and make a vision board of who your target audience is. So what are the features of your business and products and services? What are you offering? What are the benefits of these features that you're offering? What are the benefits of the products you're offering? How do these help users? And how does your target market shop? So an example, we provide search engine optimization. Search engine optimization only works for clients that have a website and they want to optimize their website organically so they can come up, and they don't want to spend thousands of dollars on ad spend. That person that needs that service needs to have certain criteria. They need to have a website. Their website must be around for longer than 3 years. They need to have products or services. They need to have traffic on their website. They need to be on top of the pages for people to find them, to grow online. They need to have an online strategy. So now what I offer is very niche. I can only offer that service to who I explained to you guys. My service is useless to a 7-year-old or to a housewife or to someone who is who owns a construction company and only works with companies that work particularly with him. So that being said, there's no point in me trying to sell my business ideas to anybody outside of what I need. But in order for me to figure that out, I had to sit down and write it down. Who am I trying to connect with? You got to ask the question, what is a typical age, gender of your market? Do they usually have children? Do they have a particular average income or education that you need? What are their common interests? This includes attitude, values, lifestyle. Is your target market comfortable with being online, with web and offline marketing methods, engaging them? Now, how are you going to get all that information? You need to be able to look at your existing customers, and you can get all that information from, if you have Google Analytics set up, you can get that information from your Google Analytics. If you don't, there's tons of sites like ComScore, Alexa, not the Amazon app, but the app, it's called Alexa, and it gives you data. You can get that information from, Stat Canada. You can get tons of information about who you're trying to target. Why does that matter? Because we have a client who sells online education. For the longest time, our target audience were children, but that's not correct, because children don't have money. They don't buy things. Parents have money and they buy things, and not all parents. Only parents that are interested in online education. Those will be the ones that would buy from this client. And we had to fine tune to understand who this particular client is. Okay. How to create, set up, launch a profitable online business. So first thing you want to do is you want to have your plans ready. So you want to have your marketing plan ready, your business plan ready, your product plan ready, your product description ready, your pictures ready. You want to have everything ready first. Once everything's ready, then you can build a very professional looking business online store using either Shopify, WordPress, Squarespace, or Wix. And it doesn't matter. It does matter which platform you use. However, to start off, you got to see what your budget is. That's important. Whatever your budget is, that makes a difference into which platform you're using, because some of them are expensive. There's a monthly fee associated with it, and some aren't. Now, when you do your budget, you have to forecast what your sales are going to be like, so you can see if you can afford having those monthly expenses. You want to pick a payment gateway. This is so important. If you're currently using Square at your office or your offline store, you want to continue using Square so everything is congregated in like one space. If you're using Monaris, you can call up Monaris and say, I'm building a website with Shopify. Do you have a plugin I can use for the Shopify site? Or I'm using a Squarespace. Why? Because it's very hard. And I've done that for many years myself. I had a bank account that had a Monaris payment section set up on it. But then for all of my credit cards, I was using Square. And there were so many fees that I was paying. And then we had to get the accountant to go in and check everything on the Monaris piece and then check everything on the Square piece. That's extra money that you're paying to the accountant to do that. You want to set up shipping integration. You want to figure out, if you're sending items, how much am I going to be paying for shipping? What are my tools I'm going to use for shipping? You want to set up your taxes properly. This is very important. I know everybody hates that word, taxes, but we are going to be paying for them. And one tiny little mistake online, and it will affect us, and you don't want to be audited. And that's the last thing we want. So you want to make sure that it's set properly. Do every province pay the same tax? Do every, if you're sending to US, which states have taxes that you have to pay? You want to choose the right domain. Now, let's say your brick and mortar store is called Miriam's Shop. You want to make sure your domain matches your store's name. So if I'm looking for Miriam's Shop, her domain name cannot be gasstove75.com, because I wouldn't know what gasstove75.com is. I know Miriam's Shop. So to me, it's always going to be Miriam's Shop. If you ever shop at Mec's store, you see Mec store is Mec, MEC.com. So you want that brand consistency. And you want to make sure that you pick the right server and hosting. And this is where you need to talk to someone in the IT world and ask the right question. You don't have to work with whoever you're talking to. You can speak to people and get information and make an educated decision. You have to set up analytics. If you're building a website, if you're going online, this is the number one. There's no question about this. You have to set up analytics. Why? Because you can see reports. When you're in the brick and mortar store, when someone walks in and makes a transaction, you record that. You know how many people have made a transaction. You may not know how many people have walked into your store, but you know how many people have made a transaction. With the online world, you can see how many people have walked into your store, which is your online website. You can see how often they spend time on your website. What do they go? What do they do? So you want to make sure you have analytics set up, because you are going to be advertising and marketing. Money goes out for advertising and marketing. You have to see if it had a return on your investment. And you can see that by looking at your analytics. Guys, I talk really fast. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me afterwards. I will go through everything with you if you need it. You want to drive traffic to your online store. We built a website and we asked the client, so what are you going to do for marketing? And she's like, they'll come. And we're like, what do you mean they'll come? They don't know who you are. How would they know who you are? When the market is so saturated and everybody does the exact same thing as everybody else, how would someone know who you are and how to find you? You need to know that you need to have a plan for your marketing. You need to drive traffic. How? You want to set up an online presence on your social media. But remember how we talked about the target audience? When you know who your target audience is, then you know where you need to set up your social media. If you're selling products and your products are targeted toward 18 to 35-year-old women, makes no sense to be on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is targeting professionals and it's very service-based. So if you're setting, and if you're not, if they cannot see the image of the product, then there's no point in being on Twitter. Maybe you should focus on Pinterest and Instagram. Facebook is mostly towards targets individuals that are over 35 to 60, actually 40 to 65. So 40 to 65 is it's the main target audience on Facebook. Do you belong there? Will your products and services get the exposure that they need on there? You want to take a look at email marketing. Now, email marketing only works if people are expecting an email from you. If at some point throughout your business you have collected X amount of number of people that were interested, that's when it works. Search engine optimization is a big deal, because if you don't have search engine optimization built into your website, you will have to pay thousands of dollars to buy ads so that people can see your website. Otherwise, they won't know who you are. You want to leverage on promotional strategies. Talk to people that do offline marketing as well. You probably think, well, I'm going online. Why would I want to ask for people to help me with promotional strategy for offline? Well, because some of the people don't know who you are. And when you put your logo on a cap, on a baseball cap, and you walk around with it, or at a trade show, you hand over the caps, now you have expanded your target audience and others can see who you are as well. You want to look at local marketing. This is so important. We need to support each other locally. However it is, we need to support each other locally. Well, how do we do that? By introducing our business locally to other businesses or to other people that live in our area local. Well, there's local newspapers, there's local chat groups online on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Include yourself into that so people can know who you are and they can come to your store or come to your online store. You want to tap into your connections. I shamelessly connect with people that are in my area, and I shamelessly ask for, favors. The way I ask for favors is I get them involved in my business. If I do a new website, I'd be like, go take a look, tell me what your thoughts are. Now I've got them involved in something that I'm working on. Their opinion means something to me, and now they're invested in my business. Because they're providing their opinion, and if at one point they're going to ask, hey, what happened with that website you built? Now the conversation is constantly going. And you want to create a buzz. You want to create a buzz about 3 weeks before your website's going to go live. And that's because you want to give yourself a bit of time to grow that, anticipation, the fear of missing out, that the site's coming up. Why should I scale my business online? Well, because, everything's going online. Look at what happened with this pandemic. If you're not online, you have missed out on months and months of sales. So you need to be online, and scaling your business strategically, e-commerce online, strategically giving you a higher growth that you didn't know of. Look at Amazon and Walmart. Their sales didn't drop. It actually went up because they have an e-commerce platform. So online marketing strategies like social media, podcast, blogging, and SEO will drive growth and acquire new customers for you. Whereas if you're offline, you will not have access to that. Omni-channel strategies like selling on Amazon or Etsy and other online marketplaces. We work with this, we met this client recently. He sells fake, not real flowers. I call it fake flowers, but there's another proper name for it. Incredible client, absolutely wonderful human being. And all he wanted to know is what are my thoughts on going on Etsy. I thought it's a brilliant idea to go on Etsy because he had a brick and mortar store, he had a website, and he's like, I want to expand and go on Etsy. Like, yeah, you should. And the fee that he's going to be paying for being on Etsy and selling his products at Etsy, it works, because if his store has to close down for the next pandemic, he has Etsy. He has his online store. It's going to work. Email marketing works. And a lot of people say, no, it doesn't work, but it really does if you think about it. How does it work? Well, if you're connecting with me and I'm expecting an email from you and you do it the right way, the chances of me reading that email and potentially buying from you is actually higher than me showing up to your store and buying something. Perfect example. I order these labels for my child's products. Everything that he has at school or that he wears, I label it because he loses everything. And the label company, I think it's called Oliver's Label. They sent out an email for labels that you can iron into masks. And he has cloth masks for school. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a brilliant idea. I ordered it instantly. And they made it super easy. So when I clicked on the email and I read the email, I clicked on the link. 2 clicks later, my product was purchased and in my shopping cart, on its way to come to me. So make sure if you're going to be doing something email related, that you put proper thoughts into how you're going to go about it. So here are the 5 key tactics to scale up your business. You want to plan ahead. So this is where we think, okay, what do I want to do? How am I going to grow it? What are my realistic goals? And what are my thoughts on, do I need to have an e-commerce platform? What is my plan for shipping? How do I have, resources to kind of figure out if they need customer service? What am I going to do with that piece? How is this going to affect my offline store? How is this going to affect my, advertising dollars, my marketing budget, my overall budget? So you want to make sure that you plan ahead. Make vision boards. If you have I have these little booklets and I write all my thoughts and my marketing plans and my, strategies in there. Why? Because I would mark it and I know how to go back and read what I wanted to do for that particular product. So when you plan ahead, it's being proactive rather than reactive. You know what you need to do and everything is documented. So if you have other people joining your team, you know how to work with it. You want to get money in your wallet and spend wisely. This is very important. A lot of the small business owners, what we've realized is that they've always go about it backward. A lot of them, not all, but a lot of them. What ends up happening is they start with building a website, and then they're like, wait, I need a marketing plan for that website. Well, no, you should have thought of that marketing plan first. You should have thought of that, the target audience first before you have built that website. So you want to think wisely. Is there a way for you to kind of bootstrap the coins and kind of figure out if we can set up a GoFundMe account or set up a Kickstarter account where I can get others to be involved in my projects responsibly, obviously, and in a way that it doesn't offend anybody, and that it's done properly. You want to make sure that if you can get into, programs where you can get grants rather than spending your own advertising dollars, how are we going to go about that? Maybe you can look at funds that are available to you at like no interest or no payment for the first year or so. think wisely before you go online, because when the minute you go online, building a website is expensive. Having a marketing plan built into it is expensive, and it all adds up. You want to monitor your analytics. This is the most important part, guys. I emphasize this. We have, and I wish I could tell you the name of the client, but this one particular client, she is a strong believer in metrics. She has a beautiful business set up, very small business, not a big business. She only had 2 people working for her. She watched her metrics continuously every day. Her business has grown tremendously because she looks at what's happening to her website. She looks at her numbers. She looks at her sales performance online, and she realizes how she's going to change the conversion. She knows where the people are coming from to her website. She knows where people are, how old they are, what's their gender, their income level. She knows everything because she watches her metrics, her analytics metrics of her website religiously every day. She looks at, where my conversion? If I have an e-commerce set up, am I just getting people to come and look at things? Are people putting things in a shopping cart and not buying? If they are, what's the problem? Let's fix that problem. If they are only putting in a shopping cart, maybe it's my pricing. Maybe the next step is too much for them. Should I send them a text message, ask them to, continue buying? So you want to make sure you look at your conversion. You want to look at your product's performance. Maybe this product you have online isn't really working. If you're not getting any sales, or you're getting 1 or 2 sales, let's remove it. Let's put the other one in there. What's the lifetime value and the cost of having that one customer? If you're spending thousands of dollars in it, let's say you spend $500 on advertising the sweater that you want to sell online, but you got 2 sales and that's $50. You spend $500 for $50. What's the conversion of this one customer that you're getting? What's the cost per acquisition for this client? So you want to look at your metrics so you know this information. And you want to create a buzz. This is very important. The only reason a lot of these businesses are growing tremendously online is because they create that anticipation, that traffic for, there's a website coming up, there's a product that I'm going to be promoting and nobody else knows about. How are we going? Do you want to be the first one to get it? Well, you got to get online. Creating a buzz will help you grow your business. I was looking at this technology Instagram page. It's actually called Technology. And 3 of the products in there, they were brilliant. I clicked on them. And then I couldn't, because you can't put the link on the Instagram piece. And it said the name of the business. And I went and looked at the name of the business because I actually thought it meant something to me. It was important. I wanted to see what it was. And it was just a Kickstarter. The product's not out there, but they're creating a buzz for it. And I absolutely love that idea. I actually got involved in the Kickstarter piece of it because I want a piece of that product. That was a lot. So I'm going to hand this over to Andrew. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Andrew, go ahead and share your screen. And he's going to talk to you guys about technology. Can you do it? Did you do it?
Working on it. How's that?
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for all that, Miriam. That was informative for sure. Got some ideas for your business. We'll talk.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, again, my name, not to be too redundant, is Andrew Sheridan with Sheridan Communications. We're located right in Newmarket. We've been in business over 16 years. I just want to stress right now, I am not a technician. So if you do have any seriously technical questions, we can reach out offline later, and I can certainly engage some of our engineers for those techie questions. But yeah, my goal is to basically give you all kinds of information, and then at the end, answer any questions you have about taking your business online, or maybe evolving things from a communication standpoint regarding telephones or voice communications. Pardon me here. There we go. So basically a little bit about the evolution of voice technology. If you're working at home and you have a simple plastic phone on your office home desk or your kitchen counter, and then you've got a phone line. So you've got a phone line that, maybe you've had from Bell Canada or Rogers or whomever over the years. We call that analog. So you have the old, and a lot of businesses still have that today. We still service customers with the real old Nortel, Northstar, Meridian phone systems. Been around a long time. And so they have like a premise-based analog system with utilizing phone lines. So kind of silly analogy, but the plastic hardware is like your car, and then what type of gas do you put in it? So is your your phone line provided by Bell or whomever? And that's so you basically buy your hardware from, you can go to a Bell store in the past in the mall, or you go to Best Buy or Staples and buy a plastic phone, and then you'd sign up with Bell or Rogers or whomever for your phone line and pay the monthly bill for that. And or what a lot of people are doing now, if maybe you just have your cell phone with Bell, Rogers, Telus, whomever, Kudo, and you have a phone line, and you give out that phone line to your customers and family and friends. And that's the number you advertise. So anyone that calls that number, they're ringing your cell phone. And if you don't answer, you're going to your cell phone voicemail box. And again, obviously a larger, more elaborate solution, but very much the same is, people call your business number, it rings in on your plastic phone. Maybe it comes in and someone answers it live at reception, or a bunch of phones ring and whoever can just simply answer the phone. And if you don't answer, it goes to a voicemail, and the caller can then have options or prompts. Press 1 for this, 2 for this, 4 for a company directory, etc. And you're able to transfer callers around within your network. So that's the kind of traditional analog to digital technology. Now we're getting into, as you may be aware, getting inundated with, the world has evolved to the next step, which is kind of the evolution of going to IP or hosted, or voice over IP, which is voice over internet protocol, or hosted technology. So, and we're seeing a lot with different programs we use, whether it's with your IT, like your Microsoft Office or QuickBooks. I know before I would go to Staples, you go up to the counter and you'd rush like everyone else. You go buy the Windows 95 CD or Windows 10 in a box, and you pay X amount of dollars, and you go home and load that onto your computer. Whereas now we're not doing that. What people are often doing with all types of programs and technology is you're signing up for like a monthly license fee. So you're not paying that upfront charge as much, but you're paying a monthly ongoing fee for as long as you use that service. Typically large organizations offer square solutions, license per user, typically include extension, telephone number, mailbox, etc., paying on a package. So there's a lot of big voice over IP or hosted providers. I want to stress the word hosted, like your Ring Centrals, Bell, Rogers, everyone. So what that technology is basically, and I'm going to just explain this very simply, is there's just, instead of that box being on the wall in your broom closet or your IT room of your business, or that phone being on your kitchen counter, that main box or brain of your technology is in Bell's office or Ring Central's office or whomever's office. They got a big box on the wall, and they provide you the technology of that system over the internet. So they're hosting your service from their location. And then those locations can certainly be backed up by other locations. And again, you pay a monthly fee for this service. And we had our industry, it's kind of crazy, but yeah, just to sound intelligent, I guess, we changed the word from telephone lines to SIP trunks. So if you've heard the word SIP trunk or SIP trunking, it is just simply, all it is, it's telephone lines over the internet instead of the old copper Bell lines that have been in the ground for 100 years. The hosted technology, again, is just it's more of a cookie cutter, kind of like the older phone system. There's a box. That box has so many X features built into it. And then you simply choose, okay, how is my business going to work best within that box? So then you click on the features, or the provider does, to, make your business fit into that technology. Then kind of the most current evolution of the voice technology is a full cloud, or it's a software-based infrastructure versus a hardware that isn't in your location, whether it's home or business, or if it's not in the Bell office, it's not a big box at Bell, or other voice companies like us, they might have a box in their IT room, and they just have a whole bunch of companies that are on that box, and you fit within the parameters of that box. A software-based infrastructure is, again, we would go to clients and say, okay, let me know the most perfect phone system for your business. And then the coders or the engineers can then build a platform specifically for your business that's best designed and suited to meet your needs, your budget, your growth expectations, etc. Businesses now, we find more and more, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this with your own clients and experiences, but everyone's business is a lot more unique to other businesses than it ever has been. And the dynamics of how you do business, shipping, you name it, is so much different. So I think if you're going to look at taking your phones to the next level, if you're looking at different providers, ask about what their technology is. Is it full hosted? Is it cloud? Is it software based? Can they engineer from scratch? Or you'll notice in their pricing, it's more of a click this option, click that option, which is going to restrict you a little bit. And the cloud solutions are typically a lot more reliable because just of the architecture of their design. We've found in the past of working with numerous of these, there's just a lot more stability in voice when it's a full software-based design. And again, because one thing whenever I talk to people about voice over IP, most common question I ask is, how reliable is it? Well, it depends. There's, and call it the old days, but 16, 20, 30 years ago, like when you bought phone systems, you bought a phone system from, a company that was selling Nortel Meridian. You bought an Avaya, you bought an NEC, you bought a Panasonic, a Toshiba, etc., or a Mitel. These companies have been around a long time. They just wouldn't work with anybody in order to resell their service. So you had to invest a lot of money to become an authorized dealer of a Nortel or an Avaya or an NEC. You had to have certified trained technicians. You would use the Bell phone lines, et cetera, et cetera. But guess what? Because of that investment and because of that getting your technicians certified, everything worked. Whereas now it's not uncommon to hear, oh, went to VoIP, it sounds terrible, or I have just dropped calls, or I hear static, or it sounds like you're underwater. Like you hear these horror stories every day, and it's obviously created a lot of, uncertainty. But a lot of people are buying based on price strictly. And with all these companies that are opening up doing VoIP, there's a lot of them out there that just simply they're price driven. So they're price, but obviously in a lot of cases, I hate to be blunt about it, but you simply get what you pay for, and why we hear so many horror stories about voice over IP. Problems with modern day VoIP brings me to that is basically the industry's in flux. Anyone can sell it, no to little support, fly by night. I've seen it as crazy. Like honestly, if you have some tech savvy, you can go to Canada Computers or Best Buy, you can buy yourself a good computer or a bad one. You can write up a clever little phone program, build yourself a website, and guess what? You're selling voice over IP phone systems, and you're offering that technology to people, and you're shipping them their Polycom or their Grand Stream or Cisco phones off of Amazon at $100 a piece or whatever, and way to go. You're selling and supporting phone systems. But again, there's no controlling body like there used to be. But again, part of why we hear so many horror stories now about voice over IP. Everything now is susceptible to hacking, and I deal with issues every week now. It was not nearly as common before because these big brands were very secure products. Using Bell lines or whatever traditional phone lines was fairly secure. Yes, we still have issues with hacking with these premise-based systems. But now with voice over IP, it's gotten even worse. I'm dealing with a company right now out in Ajax where, he had a very inexpensive voice over IP solution that someone they trusted recommended to him that was sort of new to the industry. A lot of these companies, you ask them how long they've been around, and it's not very long. But he had for his business, his accounts and transactions were done over the phone. So every call inbound and out had to be recorded. And you were confirming the services that the people were buying, and the people were agreeing to those services, and then giving out their credit card numbers. Well, that phone system got hacked. They went in through the voice over IP, hacked the systems, erased all of his calls, took all that credit card information, and needless to say, it's been an absolute nightmare. So I was speaking with them yesterday, and we're now in the process of trying to get all that rectified for them. a big thing. It's a neat thing if you want to read about it, but it's called SaaS, or hacker as a service. Is basically it. There's actually careers out there. There's people out there that make daily incomes and do very well at it. It's incredibly lucrative, of hacking into people's networks, whether they hack in through the phones, they hack in through the computers. You know, now, especially at home, like people are putting in these little, very inexpensive security cameras or doorbell intercoms with cameras on them. Or you want to be able to open your garage door from your cell phone from across the world, or turn on your lights. This is all very cool stuff that we all love. It makes our lives great. But if you don't do the proper security functions on those devices, you may as well leave all your doors and windows open and a windsock on your lawn saying, hey, come on in. And that's what these hackers are exploiting. They're taking advantage of this readily available technology. You can buy it anywhere, you can buy it online, and they just go and plug it in. And you're basically poking holes to in your home or business to the outside world. And these hackers know this equipment inside out, and they're using it to get into your home or get into your business and extract valuable information, whether they're catching you online, you know, doing your banking or whatever. So my stress, do not buy on price alone. VoIP has been promoted to a lot of people as being cheap or free, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's starting to bite a lot of people in a bad way. So like anything, if you're going to buy strictly based on price, be very careful and be buyer beware. There's, especially with internet, a lot of bad things can happen. A lot of these, you want to make sure you're dealing with a company that is, it's at the proprietary basis, that they have standards in place. A lot of these large providers as well, again, as I mentioned earlier, not to be redundant, but very limited in terms of their service and flexibility of their features. And we always say jokingly as salesmen, the sales process is always good, but what you always want to consider is when it breaks, and even the best ones will break, and that's fine, but how is that service approach? Like I always joke with people, like, you know what, everyone's great person and great attitude and great everything on a good day. What's that company like on a bad day? When your phones break, how good is that company going to be to get them back up and running? Because I don't care how good you are, it's always going to break, but how well can we get it fixed? You want to look at the provider's technology architecture. How is it designed? Again, is it software-based, as we mentioned? Is it a hosted technology? Is it a premise-based technology? Do they want to put a box on your site, whether it be in your home or your office, and then they're going to give you phone lines over the internet and a couple of phone sets? So how are they going to do that? You want to interrogate the heck of how are they going to design their architecture to suit your needs? Bespoke design to suit your business needs. You want to make sure, again, it's customizable. You don't want a one-size-fits-all solution. And you can tell that that's what you're getting into. When you go onto websites and they say, click on the features you want, a lot of times people don't know what they want because you name it, a company should be able to build that customization for you exclusively. So it's never a square peg into a round hole. Again, when you go online and you have a salesperson or a support person saying, well, click on this, click on that, you want this feature, you want that feature, and all they're doing is activating features built into their solution, versus you tell me what is the best design for your business, and we are going to engineer that from scratch for you. Charging of support, like back years with any of our premise-based systems, a customer calls and says, hey, I need another phone, I need to change my voicemail greeting or reset a password. Well, every time we'd have to, or companies like us would have to send a technician in a truck, and you're $100, $130 an hour for that person to go there. But you have to put that person in a truck with tools and an inventory and replacement components to go look at that. Whereas again, if you have depending on the voice over IP provider that you're interested in working with, some of them may not charge anything depending on the size of the change. Some of them will bill possibly in per minute increments. So you may notice a charge for $6 on your next phone bill, which is good. So all about support, 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 support. Security, pardon me, we already went over hacker as a service. What is the implementation installation process going to look like? Will they help you design the best solution for you? Can they provide staff to go to your site to unbox telephones, set them up, plug them in, train your staff, test everything, work with your IT person, or perhaps, or are they just going to drop ship the equipment to your home or business and say, oh, it's plug and play. What could go wrong? We're here to support you. Yeah, at the other side of the world, and call us if you need us. Do they offer free ongoing training? As your business strategies change, if you hire a summer student, you hire a new person, you have transition, can that person call the provider, and will they send someone there to show that person how to use the phone, how to use the app on their cell phone or on their computer? Will they be there to help them with all that stuff? Like this, phones now are incredibly important. It's because now that we're not going and conversing with people, especially with COVID, face to face, well, we're relying on technologies like this webinar with video Zoom calls, or we're on voice. So we want to make sure our voice is incredibly solid and we know how to use the tools we have. You know, like if you have a phone system, I hate to think, my $1,000 iPhone that we all seem to buy, and you know what, it stresses me that I probably only use 10% of its capabilities, which doesn't make any sense. So make sure you always get the most out of your system, and there's people that you can call that, hopefully they're at least going to walk you through it over the phone or be able to send you some creative YouTube videos, show you how to do things. But more importantly, if you want it, it's sometimes you just want someone to show up at your place of business and sit down with yourself or your team of people and show them how to get the most out of that system that you're paying money for. Again, we've had to get very creative. And before I kind of go into the network assessment, I just want to sort of skip back. Throughout COVID, especially, we've been helping people with, more importantly, they have an old phone system at their business. They have a telephone bill with a bunch of lines on it and a contract. And they're calling us saying, look, we're stuck. We have to get people working from home. We've got everyone set up with their computers now, but how do we do this with phones? People are calling into our business and they're getting voicemail. So now we have to call in and check our voicemail and get those messages and return those calls. And pardon me, people are working from home and they're trying to make phone calls from their home phones or their cell phones, and everyone to do their daily roles, but everyone is now getting their cell phone number and calling back at all hours of the day. How do we get around this? Or it's just as simple as, everyone, as we use our cell phones more often, we're just simply using them. And now our personal cell phone for family and friends is now a business device and a personal device. So there are technologies out there without you even having to spend money on new hardware, or you don't have to cancel that bell bill. And maybe you have a contract on that bell bill and can't cancel it anyway without major penalties. There are ways that you can utilize features like call forwarding. You can simply enter a code on your phone set at the office or home. You hear dial tone, you dial your cell phone number. All calls that come into your business line can now be forwarded to your cell phone. If you want to, there are ways that you can be provided with some of the VoIP providers. We have one that you can forward your main number to a number that they would give you. There can be a custom recording that you record in the cloud. Thanks for calling. We did this for a bunch of not-for-profits and small businesses during COVID, where they say, you know what, you just call forward your number instead of a cell phone to this number. They have a recording set up. Thank you for calling XYZ company. If you know the extension of the person you're looking for, enter it now. If that caller presses 1, we send it to Bob's cell phone. Presses 2, we send it to Nancy's home phone, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can give these individuals apps that they put on their cell phones that would then be using the data on the cell phone or Wi-Fi if they're at home or at Starbucks. And they can be making calls with the app. And instead of showing your cell phone number that your family and friends typically call, you're showing your office number, even though you're using your cell phone. And it's become incredibly handy. These features are there available for you to take advantage of. And what's great is like my example is I've been working at home a lot, especially with the kids. I could put my cell phone on the island, and if I'm sitting over on the couch taking a moment, and if I hear my cell phone ringing with a certain ringtone, I know it's family or friend. If I hear a different ringtone from my same cell phone, I know that's a business call coming in. I can decide if I'm going to get up and go get it or not. And again, when I'm making calls from my app on my cell phone, people see my office number and not my cell number. And those people that are calling in to my app, when they get, if I don't get to that call, instead of getting the same mailbox that all my friends and family and whatnot leave messages in, they're actually getting a professional mailbox that I've set up a little more professionally. And those messages I can collect through my cell phone app. And they can also be emailed to you as WAV file attachments. So as you're going through your emails, you'll see a new email that says voicemail with a WAV file attachment. You simply click on it and you can now hear the voicemail. So these technologies are all available to you, again, to just sort of diversify and further enhance what might be a very old, antiquated, or just simply very basic solution. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do out there to really juice that up and jazz it up very nicely without getting into expensive solutions. A lot of people say, oh, you got to buy this whole new solution. It's not necessarily the case. Okay, I want to jump into another pain-sake of ours is a lot of people have subscribed to a voice over IP, internet-based, cloud-based phone system, and everything should be perfect. But for some reason, why isn't it working perfectly for me? Even though this is a reputable provider, I paid proper price, appropriate pricing for it, it's not working. Did that company recommend that you do a proper site network assessment before implementing the VoIP solution? A lot of companies, and you can tell when you're speaking with them, they're just anxious to get you to sign the paperwork. They don't have, associates that will call you and say, what is it you're looking for to accomplish with this system? What do you like about whatever existing service you're currently using? What would you like to see added to that? What are your growth expectations? And then finally, sir or ma'am, before we do this and I sign you up and I'm really excited to do that, I think we need to have someone come and look at your environment where you're going to be installing this system. Or is your home ready for this? These new SIP telephones, if you want the actual traditional phones that sit on your desk or your kitchen counter, your home office, those phones should be ideally plugged into a dedicated Cat 5e or Category 5e or Cat 6 cable and jack. Their new network, these phones are a lot like computers now. They have to plug into an Ethernet cable like a computer. Not like the old phones, which would plug into what was called a Category 3 cable. You can and should not be plugging these new phones into that. Now, if you don't have that, yes, there are phones available that can work off Wi-Fi. So it's a desk-type phone. As long as you have power, it can collect Wi-Fi from your home or your office. But again, we have to make sure that, your Wi-Fi in the home or office is strong enough to support voice over IP. Internet is getting better and better every day, but we're also trying to put more services onto our internet as we're doing Zoom calls. So if we're doing a Zoom call right now and you're on your office, and let's say there's multiple people in your office on this call, this webinar call, and yet you got other people in your office trying to make phone calls also over the internet and do all your daily transactions with your online purchasing and shipping and everything, and QuickBooks and everything we're doing online. Every day we're trying to fit more and more water in the hose. But it's every now and then, if you don't make sure that the integrity of that hose isn't flawless, or if it's not big enough, all these systems and service things we're trying to do over the internet are going to be impacted. Next one. All these phones, they require power now. The old traditional phones from the old systems, you just plug it into the jack and they got all their communication technology and power through that one cable. Well, these new phones, they do come with AC power adapters. So you plug them into the wall or the power bar under your desk, but that's not best practice. Best practice is that these devices, like a computer, should actually be going through a PoE switch, which means power over Ethernet. So in the back somewhere, you have a little switch that should be backed up by a UPS or uninterrupted power supply, like a surge protector. And this switch is what appropriately powers the phones. Now, again, if we're at home or if we're in a small office with only one or two phones, then yes, you can certainly use the power adapters that should be coming with these phones. So when you're talking to the voice over IP provider that you're interviewing, make sure that, okay, well, when I'm plugging these phones in, you really want to walk them through it. Do I just plug them into the wall? Do they come with a power adapter? I've seen some of these, most companies, like the ones we work with anyway, because I don't want to have to remember to order it because I will forget, but all the phones do come with that power adapter, whether you use it or not. So when you are speaking with someone, please ask them to say, hey, when you provide me with all these new phones, do they come with the AC power adapters, or do I purchase those separately? You know, and I've seen companies charge anywhere from $15 to $50 per phone for those power adapters, and these little things add up. As I sort of mentioned before, a lot of these companies, they just want to sign you up. They want to get you going. They want to get you far enough upstream with the install so there's no turning back. We get calls every week on this and say, look, we signed up with this service provider. They all voice over IP. The sales process was fantastic. And I just got a bill from Bell for $100 or $500 for our phone lines. And I called the voice over IP provider we signed up with, and they say, oh yeah, you have to cancel Bell because you don't need it anymore. Yeah, you don't need your Bell lines. Well, that's fine and dandy, but you've got 2 years left on a Bell contract. Now, in order to get out of that contract, you got to pay, which is typically, don't quote me, it's usually can be different, but it's typically you take 50% of your fixed monthly cost times the remaining months on the contract. That's your penalty to get out of it. So now you're stuck. Now you got a new voice over IP provider, plus you still have your own IE Bell bill. How do you get out of that Bell bill? Well, you should have been coached in the sales process to say, look, before we go ahead, as much as I'm real excited to take your order and have a sale for the day, we have to make sure you don't have any contractual obligations that are going to potentially hold this up. And if you do, and there's no way out of it, then you know what? We set a reminder in Outlook and we stand by until you can honor that contract, or maybe there's a tipping point where, break-even point where the ROI on the savings of the voice over IP will more than cover the contractual fine to get out of it. Again, before you go and do anything else on your internet, I would, make sure you're coached on doing the proper speed test, bandwidth tests, stress your network. There's different files that you can strategically download onto your computer and you run them. And what they do is they'll sort of stress your network and really load it up to kind of mimic a typical day, and then try to make a phone call and make sure it's going to work properly, because, everything's great on a nice sunshiny day, but the trick is, like I've experienced at home, is, so I got to make sure if I'm on one of these VoIP calls and then it's not uncommon, I'll look over at the couch. I got one child watching Netflix, the other one playing Fortnite on his video game, and watching YouTube on the iPad all at the same time. So my internet's getting hammered and I'm trying to have a conversation. So again, these are things you got to plan for when implementing a proper voice over IP system. Oh, okay, there's SAS again. Obviously, it's an important one. Features to look for. SMS texting capabilities. There's everyone, I can sit here and put a list of 1,000 features on the screen and bore you for days, but basically you should be able to dream it up, and that voice over IP with the technology out there should be able to provide it. Again, lots of them can't because they have a more rigid box or square design. You get your extension number, you get your voicemail box, you get your dedicated phone line, you get voicemail to email, call forwarding on hold, do not disturb, except all the features that we're fairly familiar with already. But at the end of the day, those rigid squared solutions aren't as cutting it as often anymore. We certainly do provide a lot of those, but rest assured, I'm going to interrogate the heck out of you and your team to make sure that this is the right solution for you. Maybe you just need something very simple and basic, and that's great. But if your business is a lot more dynamic, you want to make sure you have something that is very incredibly customizable. Text messaging, we can do text messaging services where, we do it at car dealerships where, someone comes into for the service department says, you know what, we'll call you when your car's ready. No, don't call me, just text me. So now the port service, advisor picks up their cell phone. They're using their personal cell phone to text the individual, say your car is ready. Well, as an owner of that dealership, you probably want a little more control. Or, I've seen it recently at the dealership where, the salesperson was texting a friend of ours, my brother's girlfriend, and texting the price. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to toss this in, do that, and this will be the final price. I'm thinking, on their personal cell phone, that's crazy. Like, what do I know? But if I was the owner of that dealership or a sales manager, I think I'd want a lot more control of those texting messages. So you can implement services where, all the texting is controlled through that app on your smartphone and on your PC, so that if you do, whether it's for yourself or your staff, if people are sending and receiving text messages, you want a record of all those text messages so that you can verify and have solid, clean records of that information. And that's something that is very easily done now. Failover, DRP, what is your disaster recovery plan? Again, it will break. Everything breaks. So if in our case, where we always have measures set up, we kind of joke, it's called the lifeboat. So if it breaks, so if the internet goes down, if the power goes out in the building, if there's a gas leak and you have to evacuate, if COVID should happen, what can happen with your system? So we can have advanced measures in place, or you can, where if any of those scenarios should hit, you've got a plan already in place. So right away, it's automatic. It goes. The power goes out, bang, your disaster recovery plan fires up. Calls automatically get forwarded to a cell phone number or another office or multiple numbers. Or you have a recording in the cloud that says, thanks for calling. Please note we're experiencing technical difficulties. Or you just pretend it's business as normal and, press 1 for Bob, 2 for Nancy, 3 for Miriam, 4 for Andrew, and calls again, then get rid of those cell phones and or apps. Analytics. Miriam mentioned, the benefit of analytics, and it's like anything. If you don't know what your system is doing from a technical standpoint, if you don't know if people are going onto your website and you don't know how many people are coming onto your website, are they looking at this ad? Are they looking at that ad? How long are they spending on certain things? The more information you have, the more power you have. It's no different with phone systems. With the voice over IP, companies should be able to provide you on-demand or automated analytics to say, here's what's happening. Here's how many calls you received. Here's how many calls, and here's how long each call was. Did it sit on hold? Okay, well, every time Andrew gets a call, he's pretty long-winded. He's on the phone a long time, but his sales aren't so good. Whereas Miriam, her average call is 3 minutes, and her sales is a lot better. Well, maybe there's something Miriam can do to help Andrew not be so long-winded and be more impactful with what he's saying. Maybe instead of people taking a lunch at 12 o'clock until 1, maybe I should make it from 1 until 2, because we seem to see a bit of a spike in around those hours. Or, maybe 4 phone lines isn't enough, I need 5, or 1 isn't enough, I need 2. Analytics will prove that for you. Whereas right now we just sort of wing it and say, okay, I have 3 phone lines with Bell. I think that's enough, but Bell can't tell me anything further. So you can do all that with proper analytics on voice over IP systems. Natural language, speech to text, call recording, ubiquitous devices. So again, I've got a slide coming up on that. I won't get there, but COVID triage and dashboard, flexible design. We've designed a lot of dashboards and triage systems for medical offices where, they didn't want to have people in the waiting room, but they wanted to make sure they service people quickly, a bit of an assembly line. So we designed things for doctors' offices where patients can come. As soon as they get to the parking lot, they were instructed on an email or a text that was already sent to them to say, please call this number. When they call that number, it gets answered. And by recording that says, if you're here, press 1. If you're 5 minutes out, press 2. If you need to reschedule, press 3. And depending on what prompt they press, we can say, please come up in 5 minutes. Or the receptionist can then send a text or phone the person and say, we'll be ready in 2 minutes. Or please come up now. When you walk in, please go into the medical room 3. We can custom design all these types of things. We've done, again, for not-for-profit, this one not-for-profit we were working with in Newmarket with 6 locations. They came to us, they had all these old Nortel Meridian phone systems, and they had all these bell lines at each of their offices. but all these lines were on contracts until August 2022. So, you know, without replace, but they needed to do something and no one else was able to help. So we helped develop a cloud solution that complemented their old phone system, complemented their bell lines, so that as calls came into a centralized recording, we can direct those callers to the appropriate people or location that were all working from their home. And what started out with 6 cell phone apps that we handed out, they're up to about 36 now. So obviously a very accessible design. And again, they still have their old Nortel Meridian hardware at each of their locations. They're still honoring their Bell contracts. And we've just implemented a little cloud-based software or voice solution where, you know, there's a small upfront fee. I think it was a few $100s or $250-ish. And in that case, I think it's, you know, about $100 a month. But that's with 36 users. We've done them as small as, you know, 2 users. And I think it's under $50. But again, pricing can vary based on how elaborate you want to get. We did, there's another one just to get people thinking, but it was a local interior design company. And there was 4 individuals, 2 at the company and 2 were subcontractors that they used. Every one of them just worked from their cell phones. And the owner called me because they're saying, okay, we're getting a little bit busier. It's kind of convoluted that we all just sort of work on our own personal cell phones. So basically, over the course of a few conference calls, we really picked their brains of what they want to do, what is the most, again, we drafted up the most perfect phone system for their business. So we said, okay, well, do you want to use one of your cell phone numbers as the business number, or do you want a new number for your business? Well, they wanted a new number that they could advertise on their websites and their business cards and their social media. So we gave them a new number. What number do you want that to be? Do you want it to be a toll-free number? Do you want it to be a Toronto number, an Oak Ridge, an Aurora number, Newmarket, a Peterborough, Vancouver number, whatever? We got that number. So a call comes in. Thank you for calling ABC Interior Designs. If you know the extension, press, you know, the person you're looking for, enter it now. For Sharon, press 1. Danielle, press 2. Nancy, press 3. Blah, 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 blah. And now all the calls get routed strategically to each of their phones. And when they don't answer, instead of going into their cell phone mailbox, it goes into a professional mailbox we've set up. And this is for a small business, 4 individuals. They all work out of their own homes, cell phones, simple as that. So there's no, per se, box or phone system. It's a software, cloud-based voice solution. So a little kind of diagram of a cloud phone finder. So calls can come in. The caller receiver makes the call. The call goes into a cloud, IVR, or internal voice recognition system. So in that cloud, again, imagine whatever details you want in that cloud, whatever experience you want your callers to go through. So, okay, imagine yourself, I'm calling into my office or my business number. What experience do I want those callers to have? What do I want them to hear in that cloud? What options do I want to give them? And then where do I want to send those callers as they press those options? So now, again, devices are agnostic. So your phone can be a software on your laptop, or that you use with Bluetooth or a good quality USB headset and microphone. A call can come to an app on a cell phone, or it can just go to a cell phone, or it can go to a bunch of plastic phones located at an office, and there could be 200 of them, or there could be one of them at your home office in your basement or on your kitchen counter. So it does, or it could be any combination of that. Device, I was getting a little dry. So again, device doesn't matter. Whether everyone's got a cell phone, your cell phone is your extension. They're the round spaceship in the middle, that is a conference phone. They're great. You put it in the boardroom, everyone sits around it and speaks. It's an Android device. We have people using these at their homes because, you know what, they just want to speak hands-free like me. They use their hands a lot and hardly sit still. The big one in the middle with the sidecar on it with all the extra buttons, that's a typical phone that we set up at a business for reception. We've even have businesses where their receptionist is at home and they have that phone on their desk or kitchen counter, but they act as a complete reception, routing calls to everyone else. Some people are in the office, some people are are on the road with their cell phones, and you can't really see the names there, but you can see the buttons light up red or green. So if I call in and say, hey, Nancy, it's Andrew, is Miriam there? Well, Andrew, she's there, but her button's red. That means she's on the phone. Can someone else help you? Or would you like to leave a message in her mailbox? We have customers where, you know, they're a local business, but the receptionist moved to Winnipeg. Well, that was the best receptionist they ever had. They really loved this individual. And other than a little bit of awkwardness with the 1 hour time change, which isn't that big a deal, but they still act as the receptionist for this local company, even though the reception is now working from her home in Winnipeg. And then you can go to real basic phones or fancy phones like the tablet phone up in the top left corner, depending on what you like. Yeah, there's just a bit of a voice call flow roadmap in a nutshell that I mentioned. You know, caller calls the new assigned number, whatever number you want, 905-289-705, toll free. And then, you know, I won't read it all to you. I'll spare you that. But if you want to look at it later, like based on the prompts you pick, you can route calls wherever you want. So that's it.
That was a lot of good information, tons of good information. So everything will be available online. I know we went a little over, but there was a lot of good information. Thanks, Andrew. That was really good. I'll have everything available online, and I'll send you guys an email. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Anyone?
Put them to sleep.
Did we put them to sleep?
I have a quick question.
Go for it, Shirin.
What is your take on using apps for business telephone numbers to start out with?
Apps are great. Like, they give us all the mobility in the world. They give us flexibility. They can take one person and make us sound like this big, elaborate professional organization, which is getting more and more important. There are some important things I stress to people when you use apps, even our apps, is think of it like your cell phone. As long as you have good quality cell phone signal, you can have a good quality conversation. But even with cell phones now that have been around forever, I'm driving out Davis Drive towards 48. There's that little bit of a blip where I'm coming up the 404 right before Keswick. My cell phone signal gets a little spotty and my conversation is a little spotty as a result thereof. So when you're using apps, as great a tool as they are, if like I'm at home and I'm using my app and I'm using Wi-Fi, if I go into a certain part of my basement or I try to multitask and go into a part of my garage, my Wi-Fi gets a little bit weak and, you know, my conversation goes a little south. Or now if I'm not on Wi-Fi, the app will also work off your LTE, so your data plan, which is very minimal. Like, we do a lot more obtrusive things with our cell phones than a phone conversation. It's negligible. But if I don't have a good quality LTE signal, then again, I can't expect the app to be, the conversation to be crystal clear because the signal's a little weak. So as long as, but I can be sitting in Starbucks, and if I got good Wi-Fi, or I've done it before where I'm on the road and I'll pull up to park in front of a Best Buy and you're on their guest Wi-Fi, or in front of Tim Hortons. And as long as I got good quality Wi-Fi signal, I'm going to have a good call, or I got good LTE, I'm going to have a good quality, clear conversation. So again, awesome tool. I'm a big fan of it. It works great. You just got to be mindful of your signal strength. Did that answer your question? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Is there any particular app you would suggest? I'm currently using something called Text Now, just to start out with, and it connects. It's great because it has the text feature, so you can text clients, and you can also it sends the voicemail directly as a text to you, to me. But
is it voice to text? Like is it voice to text? Voicemail, or is it just text you to say you have the voicemail and you can click on it and hear it?
Yeah, it texts you that you have a voicemail. You can click on hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it works. I can put my personalized voicemail message on it, customize it, and the only downside, as you mentioned, is the fact that I have to obviously have Wi-Fi or data. But if there's any other resources out there,
I'm not familiar with that one, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, there's thousands out there. the providers that I work with, you would need to be with their service in order to use their apps.
Right.
As much as I'm, even with my app, I'm susceptible to the same issues with quality based on signal, but with the better, more powerful providers, you're going to be able to get away with a clear call with a little less signal strength.
Right.
And it's the same where, we've gone into businesses where they had a voice over IP phone system already, but they had a lot of problems with call quality or drop calls or echoey or static, whatever. Whereas we went in there, reused the same phones, didn't change it out to the hardware, but we just went from one provider to a different provider and problem solved, because the other provider, their system's just a lot more robust and it can function better on the same or lesser internet than others. So others,
Right.
they need some of the lower grade providers, they really need flawless internet to work because they're not very tolerant. Whereas
Right.
the better, stronger providers, going to be a little bit more money, but they're going to be a lot more tolerant of internet. So sometimes, if you're out in people that are in rural areas where their internet is really shoddy or they have to use satellite internet, then you really need to make sure you go with a more powerful provider. But even that provider, doesn't matter how powerful they are, we're all going to be susceptible to the quality of the internet.
Yeah.
So, but if it's just something for you where, it's kind of meeting all your needs and it sounds like it is, and it's just a matter of that signal integrity or quality and integrity, then you just got to be mindful and say, okay, here's where I can sit in the house, or here's where I can sit here at Starbucks. And as long as you do that, you're great. But if you find it becoming a problem, then more often, especially you get busier or you're moving around more, then that might be an opportunity where you need to, maybe look at a different provider whose service is a little more powerful.
Okay. The last question on that is, if I am using an app right now and it's generated a telephone number for me, will it be easy for me to transition that into a business number with other providers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cell phones, you own that number is yours, and you're free to move to that number, to Bell, to Rogers, to Kudo, to whomever, Zoom, whoever you want, or whatever voice over IP provider you want. That's your number. And it's now, again, this is where, depending if you have any contractual obligations, we just want to make sure we're aware of those and cognizant of any of those arrangements, so that when you do move, all of a sudden they're not banging on your door saying, hey, where's our monthly bill? And you're like, oh, I went to these guys. Well, that's great, but you had a contract with us. Okay, now you have two. So.
This particular app is non-contractual, and you can lose the number if you don't actively use it.
You can lose it if you don't actively. Okay.
Yeah.
We'd want to, again, you just want to look in the details, and I can certainly help you. And just to say, what are your options to move, or the official term is porting. You want to port that number from one provider to the next so that it stays with you, so that you don't have to go and spend money on changing your advertising, your business cards, your letterheads, your website, all that stuff.
Okay.
Yep, it's called porting. So you can even ask them and say, look, what are your options to port it over to another provider if that were the case.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Claudia, I'm so happy that you were happy with the presentation. Everything will be emailed to you momentarily. I'm just waiting for when our presentation's over, I have to transfer the file, the recording file, into YouTube, so I can send you guys the link to the presentation and you can watch it. If you go on our website, digitalmarketingexperts.ca/forward-resources, we've done tons of presentation, and we will continue to do more of these webinars because a lot of small businesses need the help, and all this information is available, and we will be more than glad to share it with you guys. I'll have everything in there as well. If everyone's happy, please let us know, and I'm going to end this webinar. We're good?
Okay. Thank you so much again.
Thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Andrew, for taking the time and being part of this awesome presentation. You did great. It was a lot of good info. I learned a lot. And you've explained this to me many, many, many times. And I just finally got it because you showed me the pictures.
Well, just try to encourage everyone. Don't ever let any company say, oh, no, that can't be done. It should be able to be done with the technology out there. I want people to know that if you dream it, they should be able to build it.
Amazing. Okay, guys, have yourself a good day. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.